Okay, hello everybody, welcome back to Damien's Repairs. Today I'm going to be showing you how to dismantle and clean, well, the way I clean a carburetor on a Bolens side discharge MTD 20-inch cutting width 450E series 125cc gas powered push mower with this setup carburetor and an OHV engine. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to need, the tools that you're going to need are a pair of needle nose pliers or a pair of vice grips to clamp off the fuel line so you don't get gas or fuel everywhere. So what you're gonna do is you take off this top pull rope cover, which is that over there. I already went ahead and took off the air filter. I've already took off the fuel tank. So yeah, so that's pretty much what you're gonna do today, and then I'll show you guys how to get it to where you can actually see what you need to see. I don't want you guys to fall. This is gonna happen. Okay, so what you guys are gonna do is you've got a breather boot. You've got the breather boot back here, right here, this little breather boot. You're gonna want to pop that off. Well, my carburetor's loose because I have already took it off and it's kind of very loose. So, but if you haven't took the screw, well, if you haven't took off the mounting screws, then you're gonna want to do that first. But take off that breather boot. Take off that breather boot now, so now that's disconnected. And then what I like to do is pull it out of the socket that's back in there, and it'll just come right back out of that little hole right there. And that's what, and then it just looks like that. Just a little bit. Well, the way it goes in should look like that. Okay, so you just want to disconnect that, and then I've already took off the thing that holds the string, the pull cord up there, and I've got that. I've got the little gasket, well, little ring I took off the carburetor, and then I've got the three screws that held that cover on. Okay, so now you can, if you've got this far, you just want to take off the throttle linkage. First, now you just, I have my throttle linkage. My throttle linkage is off. I already have my throttle linkage off, and then now if you don't remove those screws, and if yours it's like mine, it should look like this. And this is the carburetor with the little red primer bulb, and then back here in the back, that's the carburetor. See, that's the carburetor for it, and then the float bowl's down there. So you're gonna remove the float bowl, but for the float bowl you're gonna need a 9/32 socket. Well, what I'm using is I'm using a drill, so I've got a socket adapter, 9/32 socket adapter on my Hyper Tough 18-volt drill, 18-volt cordless drill. So what you're going to do is you're just going to just remove the bottom screw, and then the other bottom screw. And then I'll just throw that in there. Put the other bottom screw, just throw it in there. And then if you haven't took this thing apart a lot like I have, so you're going to need kind of something to catch, because if yours has had fuel sitting in it, then there's definitely going to be fuel in the bottom of the carburetor in the float bowl, so you're going to want something to catch it in. So So as I said, I'm using a styrofoam cup to catch all my fuel in. So I'm just gonna my cup right there. Grab me a little flathead. I'm using a little flathead screwdriver. And then you've got this little hole right here where one of the screws came out. Just stick your screwdriver in there and just kind of like, pretty much like you're prying something. Just kind of like pry it down. Sometimes it's hard. Shiz nizzles. See, you don't want to do that. The reason I've got the red in it is because I have tried to use gas and 2-cycle oil at the same time in mine. So that's why mine came out red. But if you're using just straight gas, it'll come out like clear, or if it's got water in it, it should come out, or if it's old, it'll come out green. Which my engine, I bet, is probably never going to run again because I've got the stupidity-ness to. And then what I'm using is I'm just using an old kitchen towel that we don't use anymore, so I'm just going to use that to kind of wipe out the bottom of the float bowl. You're just going to want to clean out the bottom of that float bowl. I'm just going to like wipe any surfaces off. And then you just kind of wipe. And the methods I see and that you guys see in these videos might not be the right methods, but I don't care. It's the methods that I'm using. And then sometimes what I like to do is get underneath this little rounded O-ring, and it's been off before, so see, that's what I like to do. I like to remove this little O-ring from around this cap, and I like to clean the little O-ring. We just kind of make sure it's clean. And then I also like to clean around this little float bowl ring, so now it looks good. And then just make sure you've got all the old stuff out of it. And since I spilled it all over my freaking lawnmower, I have to wipe it down. Because if you're using fuel or something else, it'll eat up the paint on your deck. And this deck is this is the original deck that was originally put on this lawnmower when we bought it, and then it stopped working. So this mower I just kind of use as an experiment mower, because we bought a brand new Craftsman front wheel belt drive, self-propelled. It's a Craftsman M230 163cc, 7.25 foot-pounds of gross torque. It's got no prime, no choke. It's made by Briggs & Stratton. Yeah, it's a self-propelled. So we bought that as our new mower for this year. Haven't used it, so we're gonna use it this year. That's the mower for this mowing season. So I'm gonna clean up all the fuel that was spilt, and then I'm gonna take this plate off back here. Right here, this little plate, just to clean that. And then the only things I really need in here sometimes your carburetor screws might get like some stuff on them, so sometimes it's just good to kind of clean them. Stuff for screws, breather boot. Throttle linkage. Just an extra boot for that. what I like to do is stick my little flathead screwdriver inside the fuel nipple just to make sure that there's nothing, and that could be clogging it up. One thing that you always want to check is if your little float is picking up the little needle, because right back there in the back there's this little needle thing that's connected to your float, and you always want to check that. And then these little jets, this little section of jets right here, this little section of jets right there, kind of what you want to do, or what I do is put a screwdriver down in there, or just something to kind of pop out. As soon as they'll pop out of there. Okay, so now that those are popped out, see, this is what it should look like whenever it comes out. It's just like that. And then you just kind of want to, well, if you have this lawnmower that I have, it's got this little part right here, has a little part right there that comes off, this little part, and it's comes off, and then the main jets are like this, and then this is another little piece that goes on it. So you always want to just check to make sure that they're all nice and clean, and make sure there's no fuel in them. You just want to kind of make sure that those things get cleaned, because sometimes those will get clogged. Like if you have like a lawnmower that like stays, like if you like leave it with fuel in it over the winter, those jets get clogged up with that nasty fuel, and when you go to start it when it's mowing time again, that's the most probably number 2 cause of why some lawnmowers won't start in the wintertime, is because those things get stuck in them. So I always clean mine out. I always just make sure that I can just to kind of check to make sure there's no gas in it, or no contaminants. Sometimes people will just put these things away dirty like this, and then they will just sit there all winter long without bad gas in them, which is why some people will be like, my lawnmower won't start, and then I'll and then just like take it to get it to where the just get back to the work to where it gets worked on, and then I'll start like getting into it and stuff, and then I'll find out that all it needed was just a carburetor jet clean. Well, that they had left the bad gas in it, that the jets were plugged up with corrosion or grime. So I really don't want to take off this other carburetor mount, because it's very, very, very hard. And then to get the pin, to get your float out of there, there's a little pin right there that you might need, like a pair of like needle nose pliers, or some type of like pliers that's really has a fine needle or fine something. And then you might be careful with these pins, because these things are easily dropped. And then this is, see the needle I was talking about, looks like that. It's just a little needle, and it sits right here. Here's the float, and it sits about right there in that little sliver right there. That's where this thing, the little needle, sits up in there. So since this carburetor has had many different types of liquids and stuff in it, so I'm just gonna clean the carburetor, and then just what you kind of want to do is just kind of dry off, like clean off that float. Just kind of like wipe and dry it off, just to remove any fuel And the pin that holds the float in, I just kind of wipe that off and get all that stuff off. Stuff sits in there. And the needle, I just kind of do the same thing, just kind of like dry it off, wipe it off. I just kind of put on this, back on that little needle cap. That goes back in there. And I put the needle, just kind of need to wipe out the bottom of that. Wipe that out. And that's see, I'm just kind of like wiping out the bottom and wiping off that fuel needle, the fuel nipple, and the another little. It's kind of like a breather nipple. Wiping off that breather boot, wiping out where the.
Hi.
I'm making a video. I'm making a YouTube video. Yeah, so that's how you clean that. Or the way I clean it. Is like that. And then whenever you get done, you just kind of want to go over and check and make sure you've cleaned everything. So now that that underside is very clean, well, as clean as it can get, I want to go over with a little screwdriver, and then you've got these little jets that are down inside of here. You just kind of want to clean just to make sure there's no dirt inside of them. There's no fuel or anything inside of it. Go. Okay guys, that's gonna be it for this video for right now, and then subscribe, and then there'll be a part 2 coming later of putting back the carburetor, or maybe later tonight or tomorrow. There'll be a part for putting back together the carburetor and putting it back on and stuff. So yeah, this is Damien's Repairs out.